Okay, thanks ladies and gents. That was me performing a flat earth song, playing all the instruments. Okay, now, yes, I've thought about light refraction before we begin to talk about our mathematics, because I have got something very special in order tonight, and it is very, very interesting indeed, as I'm sure you may agree. Let's move on to the mathematics. Okay, ladies and gents, I believe I have got the maths formula that we have all been waiting for. This is extraordinarily intriguing. I sat with relentless cogitation and I came up with this. What we got here is we've got OP, which is an observation point of equal elevations to GZ, which is ground zero. I repeat, OP, observation point at the same elevation. For anyone that's not familiar, elevation means it's the same height as GZ, ground zero. Above ground zero we have an aircraft observed from a point at OP. OP, let's just say hypothetically, is X, which is 10 miles away. Let's say that the aircraft is around 38,000 feet, which roughly, and I want to say that with a disclaimer, roughly, before you start keying it in on Google telling me that I'm wrong, 7 miles, which is roughly 38,000 feet. Okay, we can work this through the Pythagoras theorem, and if this side was A, this side was B, this side was C, we can quite easily discern that A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay, A squared is 10, that's 100, plus 7 squared, 49, add the two together, 149, get the square root, and you have a figure of C equals 12.206555. Okay, very simple piece of absolute piss. Okay, now this is where it gets interesting. The observer at the observation point is going to see that plane at a certain angle. And given the fact that these 2 points are going to be of equal elevation, let's just say that this is 30 degrees. Just hypothetically speaking, I want to say that this is hypothetical. Now, this is where it gets interesting. On the flat model, an aircraft viewed 10 miles from ground zero, observation point, 7 miles in altitude or 38,000 feet, will be seen at an angle of 30 degrees. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because if the Earth was curved, right, let's look what happens. Disappearing below the curve, so therefore theta angle of 30 degrees is no longer correct for an observation of an aircraft of 38,000 feet above ground zero, is it? Because of the curve. So there will be a disparity in the right angle triangle, thus proving categorically the flat Earth. So let's get together and do some observations. Now, in order to do these observations, there's a simple checklist. One needs location of the plane, angle of the plane, height of the plane, time of the plane, minutes and seconds, flightradar24.com. You want to have an observer point, which is some distance from the plane, of an elevation that is known, and the elevation at ground zero needs to be known, and this information can be collated on the internet. Distance from the plane above the ground, that can be found on Flight Radar 24. Elevation observer, there's plenty of websites you can use to find that. You can use altimeters and all kinds of stuff. An elevation of ground zero. So, checklist again. Location of plane can be found on Flight Radar. Okay, angle of the plane can be measured with a telescope or a sextant if you want to be accurate that way. Or other devices that you could find on the internet which won't cost that much money. Height of the plane can be found on Flight Radar 24. Time of the plane, you can use playback to get the time of the plane, and you can synchronise your watch to ensure that the plane passes at the correct time as you take the observation. So, here we go. So, the premise is, if the Earth is flat, the angle of observation, viewed from equal points of elevation, will be the same as the theoretical flat model trigonometry that I show here. If the angle theta changes to match the same observation, then the Earth is a ball. Game, set and match, ladies and gents. If we do this, let's crack on. I will be doing my own observations over the next few days, hopefully, and I'll be getting as much equipment as I can together. I'll do a few dry runs, and then when I get the actual specialist equipment to prove this, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to do some field work. Okay, I understand that a lot of you out there aren't going to have equipment to do this, but what we can do is we can get together, we can do a few preliminary observations, you know, that aren't scientific, before we get all the equipment and gear that we need to go out there into the field and carry out the experiment. I actually believe that this experiment is quite possibly one of the best experiments that we could do, that's really going to do something absolutely massive for the flat earth community. That's all I can say on this one. I think this is absolutely big. I've looked all over the internet, no one else has thought of this. I'm the first person that's come up with this. I really don't know how this has managed to elude everybody. I really don't. Let's crack on and do it. I'll see you in the next vid. I'm excited.